you ready? Are you ready to use your tiles? Are you nervous? I'm nervous. Let's do it. Hey everyone, Kristen Som here, and it's time to do the tiles part of our table runner. So I have to tell you, I'm a little nervous. I'm a little more than a little nervous. So we all did our houses, our trees, our blank blocks, our borders, our corners, and pieced it all together. And it's so cute. And now it's time to do the actual work of the table runner. So a few things. I want to point out you will need your USB stick that is in the Clear Blue Tiles Essential Set. The reason is because that is where you will get the quilting designs. There are 9 quilting designs in a ton of sizes. There's actually even more than that because there's 6 different bitty blocks too. So anyway, lots of designs. They're on your USB stick that is in the Clear Blue Tiles Essential Set. And so we will need that. You also will need your hoops. So it depends on your choice. If you are going to do an all over quilting design, then you probably want your biggest hoop, depending. So what I did is I measured the size. I used my little orange ruler and I measured the size of the house blocks and the tree blocks and also the borders. So the houses are 4x4, the trees are 2x4. So the reason that you want to know this is so that you can start determining what designs that you want to do for your blocks. Like I said, you can do an all over design. I'm going to do each one. So I've decided I want my houses to all be one type of quilting, and then the trees one type, the blank blocks, and then the border blocks. So let's quickly talk about the border blocks. The border blocks I measured and they are 24 inches long. So you're going to want a quilting design that is 2x24, which obviously we don't have a hoop that will do that. So depending on your hoop size, you need to figure out which of your tiles that you're going to use. So I've taken out the ones that I think I'm going to use. I'm going to use the 4x4s for the houses, the 2x4s for the trees, and then those will work also for the blank blocks. And then the cute little 2x2 biddies for the corners. Now, again, depending on your hoop size is what you'll decide on your border blocks. So if you have the essential set, which you have to do this, the tiles you can use, so if it's 24 inches, this one is 2x6. So you would do a 2x6 4 times, right? Yeah, 2x6 4 times. If you have a, what is this one? 2x8, then you can, if you have a hoop size, you remember you have to have like an 8x8 hoop or an 8x12 hoop to be able to use the 2x8 design. But if you have that, then you can do this 3 times. You can quilt each of it 3 times to get a total of 24 inches for your border blocks. Now, if you have, let's see, what is this? If you, like I did, if you bought the expansion set because you have a bigger hoop, in the expansion set, there is a 2x12. There's also a 2x10 in the regular set. In the regular set, so if you have a big hoop but you only bought the essential set, you could do the 2x10 and a 2x2 and do both of those twice, or actually 2x10 twice and a 2x4 would work. So you're just equaling out to 24 inches. But if you, like I said, if you bought the expansion set, there is a big one in there. There's a 2x12 that we can do, and then you're only doing 2 hoopings. So you want to start by deciding what quilting designs you want to do, and then deciding which tiles you'll need and which hoops you need. And you also need your back fabric. Don't forget your back fabric. And don't forget your batting. All right, Kimberbell's got the project batting. That is the right loft for this project. And this will be my first time using it, so I'm pretty excited. So on this, I have decided, and this is totally optional, this is do what you want to do. Like I said, I want mine to be all different. I'm pretty excited about this project. We've waited a long time for it. And so I want to do all mine different. Rather than doing one all over design on my entire table runner, I'm going to do them differently. So on all of my house blocks, I've decided on the winter design. And like I said, the winter design is on your USB stick that is in the essential set. And it's the one with the cute little snowflakes and swirls. All right, so that's what I'm gonna do on my house blocks. So all my house blocks are gonna have a 4x4 of the winter design that's on the USB stick. For my trees, I've decided on the loop, and at this point, I haven't started yet, but I want to do the loops upside down. So when I saw the loop design, I pulled it up in software just to see what would look cute with what. And the loop goes like this, and I want it to go this way. So I'm thinking I'm gonna flip it so that I think it'll look like little lights on my tree. That's what I'm imagining. I think that would be really cute to do the loops and have it going this way. So loops on that, winter on the houses, and then what were the other ones I decided? So keep in mind that you can use all of the quilting designs that are in the essential set, but you can also use any of the blue designs that are on the Kimberbell website. And a bunch of us have already bought a bunch of them, so you can use those. So don't forget also, if you bought them a while ago, you can re-download them. I just re-downloaded some of mine. You can re-download them, and for free, because you've already paid for it, you've already bought it. But Kimberbell was nice enough to adjust the designs to also include CBT files. So if you re-download it, it's got a file or a folder that says CBTs. So when I'm thinking for the blank 4x4s, I want to use Christmas trees, and I think it was called Christmas trees. It might just be called trees, and it's just trees. It looks super cute, and I think that since it's a blank block, I think that would be really cute. And we already bought it. Some of us already bought it. I bought it for Candy Cane Lane. So since I already have it, I want to use it, and I wanted mine to be different. So I haven't decided completely on the blank swirls. I'm leaning toward just the regular swirl design that comes on the essential set, but I'll give more information as we go through the process. So for right now, I think I missed one. Oh, on the borders and the bitty blocks. So for the bitty blocks, there are 6 different designs on your USB stick, and they're cute. So I'm going to do the mittens. I even thought about doing, and you could even do the mittens in a 2x2, 2x2 twice, because they are just really cute. So totally optional. So that's the first thing, is to start thinking about what you want to do on your blocks. And then, like I said, this one is a long 24 inches. And so we need to decide what we want to do on that one. What was I leaning toward? I don't remember, but I wrote it all down, didn't bring it with me. So I will share what I've decided, and you guys can use whatever you want. One thing I noticed is that you don't have to use the border blocks on the long 24 inch. You could use, like, even the Christmas trees. There was a 2x12 design in the CBT folder. So you could actually do even the Christmas trees on that. It doesn't have to be a border design. But there are 2 border designs on the USB stick, border loops and border swirl. So you can choose that for your borders. And then, like I said, if you've got this, you can just do it in less hoopings. But it really doesn't matter, because we're not using stabilizer. I'll show you as we get there, but we're gonna just pick it up and move it, and so it really doesn't matter how many hoopings. So one other thing is, you want your I don't know what you call it, but the grid, and you want one for each of the hoops that you're gonna use. So hopefully you saved these. Mine came with my machine, and I actually thought about tossing them at one point, because I was moving them from house to house. Excuse my dogs, my husband's getting home right now. So I pulled out the one for my 8x12 hoop as well. Might use 8x8 now that I think about it. That might be easier. That actually would be easier. So I'll pull out the grid for that. If you don't have a grid, if you did not save these plastic grids, I heard that Kim did a tutorial on how to make one. I can't find it. I've looked everywhere and I will keep looking. If I find it, I will add it in a link at the bottom underneath this video. There is on the CBT USB stick, there is a crosshair, a 4x4 crosshair. And so I'm assuming that we make it out of that. But I couldn't find it and I really did try. So I will keep looking, and but right now I just wanted to get started since hubby's not home and it's quiet and I can actually get started on this project. One other thing that you'll need is double-sided tape. I haven't started yet. Remember, I have not done this before. I'm a total newbie to the CBTs, but I heard that you want invisible tape. So I got some. So it's going to get loud here now, so I'm going to go ahead and do the rest in photos and videos as I can. But let's go ahead and get started on our Clear Blue Tiles Table Runner quilting. Okay, start by cutting your batting. I'm using Kimberbell project batting. And I cut that to about 1 inch over the size of my table runner on all 4 sides. So just lay down your table runner and cut your batting 1 inch larger on all sides, about 1 inch. That's the first step. If you have spray, you can put spray underneath the table runner to hold it. The batting is actually holding it really well, but that's certainly an option. I don't have spray, so we'll see. And then we're gonna do our back fabric. Okay, so you know what I did? I used my glue stick and I attached all 3 layers. So I now have my quilt sandwich. So I want to point out, you want to lay down your back fabric right side down and then put your batting and then your top layer, your quilt top. So you have all 3 layers hopefully stuck together a little bit. I just used a tiny bit of my glue stick. You can use basting spray or just hope that your batting will hold on, or pins, or whatever works for you. So anyway, now we have our quilt sandwich and we are ready to start marking our quilt top. Okay, now it's time to mark our quilt top. So like I said, get out the quilt blocks that you're going to use. And did you see how many there are? Oh my gosh. Like every size that you can imagine inside the essentials kit, and then there's a whole ton more in the expansion set. So really any size that you're going to need, you've got them. You're going to be all good on the Clear Blue tiles. So very exciting. Get out one of your marking pens from the kit. Make sure it's that water soluble pen in your kit. And we're going to go ahead and start marking them, and I'll show you how. All right, and like I said, I'm doing different ones for the houses, the trees, the blank tree size and the blank house size, and then the bitty blocks. And I haven't decided on the borders yet. I looked through all the ones that I have and all the ones on the Kimberbell website, and the one I want is Borders 2. I think that one would be really cute. Or Borders 1. I think it was, yeah, Christmas Border 1. So it's the one that has Christmas tree lights, and then that's for the wider part of the border. But then for the thinner part of the border, it's this really cool, I don't know what you'd call it, but it goes like this. And I think that one would be a fun one for the sides, for our borders. But there's so many. So there's that cute wind one, the new wind one that is coming out for spring showers. There's 2 that are on the USB sticks, so we could certainly use those. So many options. How lucky are we? Okay, my shirt today is a cute little snowman from Designs by Juju. I will add a link to which set that it was in, and the shirt is from Fred Meyer from at least a year ago. So my little stick to move my camera easily broke, but let's see. Okay, so we are going to pick a tile, and like Kim says in her videos, we're going to use it like a stamp. So we're going to put it on the block that we want to mark for that tile, for that design. We're just going to put it on there, and then you use your water soluble pen and you start by marking the center. There's a little center dot there, and we mark that, and then you mark all the way up, all the way down. I think that you can actually do just a little bit. You don't have to do the whole line, but you do want to have this arrow one so that you know where the top is. And then the side crosshairs, maybe it's called. And then you want, wherever there is one of these little lines that you can see on your tiles, you want to mark there. And the reason for that is so that you know where the next tile is going to go. And an important part is you're going to mark in this little box, you're going to write 4x4 or whichever size tile that you're using. I actually don't need to do that because, for one thing, it's going on a dark fabric and I'm not going to see it, I don't think. And the other thing is that this table runner is so nicely put together that we really know these are all 4x4s, these are 2x4s. It's actually pretty easy to know, but good to know for the future that you mark all the little marks. There's little marks on the tile that show where you want to mark your fabric or your quilt top. All right, and just make sure that you can actually see that, especially that center mark. I think that's probably going to be the most important one. And then you can see, oh, that looks so good. Here, let me see if I can get this closer for you. All right, so we've got our center mark. We have our crosshairs, and around the tile, I did write 4x4 in here, but like I said, you can't see it on this dark blue fabric. So, and we really don't need to know because we know that they're 4x4 and 4x2. So easy to do, but look how easy that is. So what you could do if you wanted to, hold on. So what you could do is you could mark one, bring it to the machine, do that. You could do all of the houses first. You could do just the trees, you know, whatever, however you want to do. Or probably the most productive way would be to mark your whole quilt with all of the different tiles that you're going to use and the sizes so that you know which one goes with what, and your borders and everything. So if you mark it all up first, I think that's probably the most productive, because then you just bring it to the machine and you're going to have those designs loaded on your USB and start quilting with clear blue tiles. All right, so for now I'm doing all my houses with 4x4 and marking them up so that I know exactly where the center is and where the quilting is going to go and which size tile and so on. So get in there. Okay, so once you have your quilt all marked up, it is time for the fun stuff. Okay, I'm back. So we are going to continue with our clear blue tiles. So as I mentioned, you are going to piece it all together, have 1 inch extra of your batting all the way around, 3 inches extra of your back fabric all the way around, and mark up your tiles. So we're going to mark every single tile. You can do it one by one, but it's just more productive if you want to do the whole thing. So this, like I said, I'm going to do custom quilting. So I'm going to do each box. You can, like I said, do the whole thing. You would just measure out the table runner and do hoop, 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 hoop. I hope that makes sense. So a couple things before we actually do the tiles. Like I said, you're going to want your grid. If you don't have a grid, Kimberbell has a tutorial, and I did find it, and I will link to it under this video. And it's basically, you would use that 4x4 grid that is on your USB stick in the essential set. you would use that and stitch that out on your mesh stabilizer so that you can see through it. And right on the top of the design top, and then also you would, in the hoop, draw around. So say that you've got your stabilizer in there, you would draw with a pencil or a pen or whatever all the way around and write top at the top, and stitch out that grid, and that works as your stabilizer or as your grid, as a temporary grid. So you would just cut that out and use that inside of your hoop if you don't have the plastic grid. If you have the plastic grid, find that easiest way to do it. So one thing I did learn thanks to Kim's tutorial is that there is this little notch at the top of your brother or baby lock hoops. It's probably on all manufacturers, I'm not sure. I never knew that. I never knew that there's a little arrow up at the top, and that is the top. You want to line this up. It works both ways. But believe me, if you don't line up this arrow with this arrow, it's on the bottom and the top, then it can be off by quite a bit. I made a birthday card the other day in the hoop, and I lined it all up, and for the first time ever, I used my grid and just to make sure I was in the center point and it was all lined up and everything was perfect, and it was off by a lot, like probably almost an inch. And I was really shocked. I'm like, what on earth happened? And after seeing Kim's tutorial, I realized that these little arrows up at the top matter, not just this notch. I use that notch all the time, but there's this little arrow up at the top. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, that makes a difference. So we're gonna make sure to have that right. The other thing is you want double-sided tape. I'm using regular Scotch 3M double-sided tape, and we're gonna put that just on the bottom and the top and the sides of the top of our hoop. So underneath of the top part of our hoop. So bottom of the hoop, top of the hoop, put double-sided tape, and that will just make it easier for when we're lining it up on the fabric, and I'll show you in just a minute. So it's time. We're gonna finally get started and get these clear blue tiles actually on our quilt. So let's do it. Okay, I have my grid and my tape on the back of my hoop. You probably can't see that because it's clear. We are gonna start from the center of our table runner. So I'm just going to pick this house here, and keep in mind I haven't done this yet either, so this is a first. But you can see on the center of your grid and the center that we did in our water soluble pen, our Kimberbell pen, and I'm getting a message. All right, so right there we're going to line this up, and since we have that the tape, it's going to help to just kind of hold it there while we get our hoop underneath. All right, so we've got this all lined up, the crosshairs and the center mark. All right, and we're making sure to use the top of our hoop to line it up right with the bottom of our hoop, and then we're gonna slide the bottom hoop underneath, trying to not help it to move too much. And Kim says this will get easier as we do this more often. This is my very first time. So, all right, so you just finagle it around until it's right, and make sure that that center mark and the crosshair stays exactly right. All right, and then once you get it, you're gonna tighten that bottom screw. All right, and then we have our first house hooped. So you can see, the center mark and the crosshairs and the grid. So this is all lined up really well, especially for our first time. So then we will remove this grid, and we're all ready to do our first house. And we'll take this to the machine, have the designs that we've chosen on our USB stick, and we're going to do the first one, and it should go exactly where our crosshair mark is. So let's go ahead and do this. Are you nervous? But look, it looks so cool. I think once we get the hooping on and off a few times and get some practice at it, that lining it up will make it easier. But so far, great. All right, let's check it out. And on a side note, today's shirt, I think it's Jazzy Zebra Designs, but I will check. It's a cute polar bear on a 3-tone shirt from Amazon. I'll add a link, and I added lots of bling on the scarf, so pretty fun. Okay, load your USB stick with the designs that you've chosen. So get those loaded and load your first design. For me, it's the house 4x4, because that's basically at the center of our design. All right, and then you want to check and make sure that your needle is at that center point. I want to make sure that's pretty important. So if we lined it all up right, we should be right at the crosshair and right at that center mark. I'm going to use white thread, depending on your fabric kit. I've got the winter fabric kit, and mine's a lot of light blues and darker blues and some gray, and so I'm going to use white. And then for my plain border blocks, I think I'm going to use a navy so that the quilting stands out more on those plain blocks. For the ones with all of the colors, I think white will do nicely. Okay, so once you know that it is at that center mark, you can also use the buttons on your machine like I usually do on our quilts. Lay that down there for a second here. And then the right and left button will show that you're right on the crosshairs. You can see that your crosshair that you drew using your clear blue tiles were now centered exactly right. And same with the top and the bottom. It's going straight down that line that we drew on our clear blue tiles. So our clear blue tiles helped us to get it centered exactly right. Okay, and it's all done. And seriously, could that be lined up any better? It's perfect, absolutely perfect. So notice I used my clear blue tile slap bands on both so that I can have just the block showing and nothing getting in the way. So now that we have the first one done, we would just unhoop this and move it to the next block that we're going to work on. Did you do it? Did you do your first block? All right, so let's give you another visual on how we did this. We're going to just start by taking this one out of the hoop, taking off the slap bands. Actually, we don't have to take off the slap bands because we're just going to move it up a little bit. So we still have that tape on the back of our front of our hoop. The back of the top of our hoop, how confusing is that? This is the top, and we have the little tape pieces on the back. So we're taking out the back, and we're just going to go ahead and line up the top hoop with the next block. Okay, so we did this first house. I'm going to move up and do this next one that's also in the middle. And again, I'm just going to keep that tape on there, and I'm going to use my grid. And with that grid, I'm going to find my center point that I've already got marked on my fabric. And I'm going to put the center of the grid into that little mark that I made and make sure everything's lined up. So right there, it's all lined up just right. Give it a little push. I wonder if they make double-sided tape in like electrical tape or something that would be stronger. I think I would do that next time because this doesn't hold very well. All right, and then you just slide the bottom of your hoop under and feel around a little bit to get it in the right spot. And you can tell if it's not in the right spot you can tell right away on your fabric. So you're going to move either the bottom of your hoop or your fabric a little bit until you've got it just right. Feels a little like a guessing game at first, in all honesty, because you can't see that hoop on the bottom. So this is just a little bit too high, so I'm going to take the top off and do it again. Move the bottom hoop down just a bit. Ooh, there we go. Ooh, that's perfect. All right, and then you just push the hoop down in. Make sure that your grid is just right. This is all lined up beautifully, and then tighten those screws before you move anything. Well, the second one was already easier than the first, so that's a good sign. Now I should show you with the grid on. All right, and if you can see that, it's lined up with the crosshairs and with the center point and with the grid, the plastic grid. All right, so then we're going to take that plastic grid off, put our slat bands back on if you want, just to make sure that the excess material doesn't get in the way. And we're ready for our second hooping. So each one of these, the first one took 2 minutes, and that's I think the biggest one. It was a 4x4. We have the borders to do, of course, but it's a very quick process. All right, let's go ahead and bring it to the machine and do the second one. Okay, so for the second hooping, from the grid it looked exactly right, but when I'm looking at it and I put my needle or my foot down, it looks like I could go over one tiny little dot, and like that's really not going to matter, but it's so easy to do. I'm just going to go to edit move on my machine, and using those buttons, let's see if I can do a little bit more. Using these buttons, I can just move my needle over 2 little spots, and then it's exactly right. So those clear blue tiles made it so that I can line it up, make a crosshair in the center point and all that, and then I can, if it's not exactly where I think it should be, I can use the buttons on my machine to move the foot over just a tad before it starts, and then it's right center in the middle, and I can check it up, down, and just make sure it matches with that crosshair that we drew. So it's all perfect. I'm going to go ahead and change my thread. On this one, like I said, I'm going to do the trees, which is not part of the designs that's in our clear blue tiles. But several of us bought this one when we did Candy Cane Lane a few weeks ago. So if you have some designs that you've already purchased from Kimberbell, you can use them on this project also. Don't forget that we got the clear blue tile designs along with every purchase. So you can go back and re-download and get the CBT files. So the Christmas trees, we did block by block, but we also have the clear blue tiles in that same folder. So I'm going to use it on this project. Oh gosh, that's cute. All right, look at the Christmas trees. I want to point out, do you see how that is exactly within the block, the exact size of the block? Look at how perfectly that's centered in. The CBTs having the crosshair in the center and being able to check it makes it just so easy, so perfect. It fits in that block exactly right. How fun is this? Are you loving it so far? All right, let's test another one. All right, so we're going to take it out of the hoop. So if you have a magnetic hoop, oh boy, I think this probably makes your life a lot easier if you have a magnetic hoop. Just saying. All right, so you take the bottom part out, set that aside for now, and then choose your next block. I'm gonna move on to the next, since I've already got my Christmas trees loaded, I'm gonna do the Christmas trees on the next blank block. So again, let me see if I can move this down a bit. All right, so again, you are going to put your grid in your hoop. Make sure that you've got that little top arrow that shows that the top of your hoop. All right, and then center it with that center mark and the crosshairs. Just get that exactly where you want it to be. Kind of press it down a little bit so that that tape will adhere a little bit. All right, and then slide the bottom hoop under. Make sure that that screw is opened up a lot. And then you're gonna just feel around while keeping that in place and get it. Wow, did we really get it on our first try? Look at that. Whoops, pops right out. You do want it opened up a lot because you're going through bulk. Right, you've got your 3 layers, your whole quilt sandwich is going in here, and mine wants to keep popping out. So I am going to move it just a bit and open it even more. I don't really know much about the magnetic hoops, in all honesty, but I can see that it would make the process easier. Oh yeah, so I just opened up my screw and that made it a lot easier. All right, and then once you've got it in there, tighten up that bottom screw. Okay, so interesting tip. Don't unscrew it so much that you unscrew this little piece here of mine fell out, and I had to figure out what I did and how to put it back. So don't unscrew it so much. If you unscrew it all the way, then this little piece here comes out. You have to unscrew it quite a bit for that to happen, so I'm surprised that I did that. But anyway, that's my tip of the day. Don't break your hoop. So it's this little piece here. It popped right out. So just don't unscrew it so much that it pops out. All right. Okay, our friend Lynn Geldmeyer, we love you, Lynn. She sent a little tip, and she said that she uses duct tape. Instead of regular double-sided tape, she uses duct tape. So I'm going to give that a try. I'm using this, it's regular tape, 3M. A bunch of us used it for our fairy lights in Candy Cane Lane. It's 3M. It's regular duct tape, I believe. It looks like electrical tape, but it's regular, says number 1200 series Pro Strength silver duct tape. All right, so I have put that on the back. See if that helps make it a little easier. Don't forget to make sure that you've got the little arrow at the top and your grid lined the right way. All right, and then right over the top, exactly where you want it, press it down a bit for that tape to hold on, and then you get your bottom piece and put it under your hoop. All right, so look, Lynn's idea of the stronger tape does help hold a little bit better than the regular double-sided tape. You can move it around a little easier, so that's nice. And then lining it up should be a little bit easier. Do I have my hoop open? And then just push it into place, keeping it where you want it to be, and lock it down. Okay, one tip. Mine loves to pop out after I've already gotten it in. It's pretty frustrating. So what I found is if I lift it after I've got it in and before I fully tightened it, I hold it up and I push the top of the hoop down into the bottom of the hoop even further and then tighten it up. And that seems to help hold it in, because for some reason it loves to pop out. And then you kind of start the process all over. But if you get it in really well and push it all the way down, because remember, we're going through bulk, and if you've got thicker than the project batting, you're going to have an even harder time. This project batting is thin, and it's like the exact right loft for this project and for our hoops especially. That's the big thing, is for our hoops. So we are doing an in the hoop project, and we want it to stay in the hoop. All right, so then look at that, lined up just right, center, crosshairs, and we're all ready to go. So how's it going? Are you getting the hang of it yet? It takes a little practice, definitely. So it's pretty fun to see it coming together, though. It's really so precise. That's the best thing about them, I would say. And the fact that you get extra quilting designs, but they're so precise and they're very quick projects. The hooping is the only thing that I need to get the hang of, but that lifting it up and pushing it in a little further seems to really be the ticket for me anyway. So I'm curious, how's it going for you? Do you like them yet? All right, I want to point something out. So on these darker fabrics with that blue pen, you really can't see my center mark. You can see on the light gray. On the dark, it's pretty hard to see the center mark. And this is why it's really important to not only do the center mark, but to do all of those. Because see, I can see in between, I can see the crosshairs really well. I can't see the center mark perfectly, but I can see the other parts. So just make sure that you're filling in all the parts on the CBT tiles, so that you can utilize it with whatever fabrics you're using. So I would say that the game changer tips for me are lifting up the hoop to push it in further before tightening it, and then Lynn's suggestion of the duct tape instead of regular double-sided tape, that definitely holds a lot better in my opinion. And there was one other, using the buttons on your machine to make sure that the placement is just right. Those are the parts that I think have made it a lot easier. I use these buttons on my machine to check the center placement, the top and bottom, and left and right, and that's working really well for me. Are you hooked yet? Look at these. Oh my gosh. So perfect. I can't believe every single one I've done. I think I've done 5 so far, and every single one of them, they're exactly centered in the hoop and taking up every bit of the hoop space. Very impressed with these so far. Look at that. Every single one is centered exactly in the box, thanks to the CBTs showing me exactly where the center is, and then the crosshairs. Yeah, every single one has just been perfect. I'm loving this. This is like a perfectionist dream come true. So the biggest block on this project is a 4x4, not counting the borders. 4x4 for the house, that's the biggest block. So I'm using my 5x7 hoop on all of them. Using a bigger hoop is not going to make a difference. You're still going to center it in the middle of your hoop, so it doesn't matter what size hoop you use. All right, all my house blocks and house size blank blocks are done. So all I have left are the trees and the tree size blank blocks. I am going to do my tree quilting in a light gray so that it'll stand out from the white fabric that I have. So depending on your fabric, you choose your thread colors for your quilting. I'm going to use this light gray. So I've chosen these loops for my trees, and if you recall, I mentioned that I want it turned the opposite way though. I want it to go around the tree kind of like lights instead of upside down like this. So I'm going to do this very easily by just changing the direction. So I'm going to my edit button. You could also do this in software very easily. I'm trying to see around my camera, rotate, 90 degrees, 90 degrees again, and there we have it. So easy peasy. Okay, once all the main blocks are done, then it's time to do the borders. And I want to show you a couple of things here. So I used the 2x12 like I showed you when I was marking my project. And I did this swirl design. If I had thought that I was going to get close, if my foot was going to get close to this at all, then it's a really good idea to tape it down so that your presser foot wouldn't stick on it and pull. But I can tell easily from using the buttons on my machine where exactly that it's going to stitch. And I was already marked for using the clear blue tiles, so it was really easy to know that it was not going to go toward the edge, and I just watched it. So this worked really well, very easy. I used my 8x12 hoop, and as you can see, I did it right in the center. You could easily, using the guide, you could not use the center and instead use like this line and center it that way, and then just move it using the buttons on your machine. But I just did this and it worked totally fine because it's stabilized enough with the batting and the back fabric. So this worked well. And I have one more hoop because I'm doing 2x12. There's 2 of them for the 24-inch long table runner. All right, one other thing I want to show you about doing the borders. So you can see I'm centered right on my crosshairs, right at the center for starting. And then I can use the buttons over here on my machine to see how close it is to the other one and to the other one that I just did, the other border. And you can see here there's plenty of room and they don't connect. So the borders are, for the clear blue tile borders, they are standalone designs. It stops here, and so it doesn't need to connect or anything like that, or anything that would make it difficult. It's its own design, and so it's going to start here near the end of the first one, and then when I click this button here, then I can see where it's going to end. And look at that, right before my corner. How perfect is that? So the clear blue tiles makes it so that you can easily set it up to the exact location, the exact center, everything that you need, and then you can use the buttons on your machine to check it, even though you really don't need to because you've set it up so perfectly. But anyway, this is the second part of the border, top border, and then I have the 2 bottom borders and the 4 corners left to do. Okay, both border blocks borders are done. I have the 2 side borders still to do, and then the bitty blocks. So just a reminder, as I mentioned earlier, I used the 2x12 for 2 of the 2x12s for my borders. The upper and bottom borders are 24 inches long, so you could do 3 of 8 inches or 4 of 6 inches or whatever works for you. All right, I want to point out something interesting for the side borders. So I used the border swirls for the top and bottom of my borders, but now I've gotten to the sides, and the side measures 2x8. So you can see this here. All right, a 2x8. But the borders only come in 2x7 or 2x10 or other sizes, but not a 2x8. So to use the border, if you wanted the same swirl, you could use a 2x7 and then just have a little bit of space above and below. Nobody's going to notice. Or you can do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to use this 2x8, which is actually meant for the designs, not the borders. And the 2x8, I'm going to use the winter. And if you look at it on embroidery software, it looks a lot like the border swirls. It just has a few snowflakes in it along with it. So that's what I'm going to do on my two sides. The other option is you could easily do, no, actually you can't. I was going to say you could do a 2x4 twice, but you can't because the smallest for the border is 2x7. So it's totally up to you what you decide to do. I'm going to do the 2x8 in winter, which is the same thing I used on my houses. And it looks a lot like the border swirl. It just also has some pretty little snowflakes in it. So that's what I'm going to do. And again, we've already marked it. Actually, you'll have to look and see how you marked yours. If you marked it for a 2x7 or a 2x8. So, by the way, one other option, if you don't want to use the 2x8 winter file like I'm going to do, like I said, you can do the 2x7 and just have a little bit of space on each, or you can do 2x12 and not use the bitty blocks. You could do a 2x12 all right here of the border swirls or border loops or any border that you have from Kimberbell. That there's lots of borders, cute ones. I'm going to use the 2x8 winter because I want to do the bitty blocks in the corners. I think those will be really cute. So anyway, your project, do it your way and let me know how it goes. Okay, the last thing are the four corners. I'm using the bitty blocks, the cute little winter mittens, and you can see thanks to the clear blue tiles, my block is lined up exactly right. Beautifully done. Very excited. And it's all done. The cute little bitty blocks. Can't see them very well because of the blue marker, but once we get this all cleaned up, oh boy, it's cute. It was a lot of hoopings. It's not a quick thing. It is pretty quick because the embroidery the quilting takes, a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there. But if you do custom, it's a lot of hoopings for sure. And look at how cool the back is. Traditional quilting. Isn't that beautiful? This is my first time doing something like this, so I think it was very cool, very fun. I look forward to seeing yours. Okay, once you have your table runner all quilted, then it's time to do the binding. So with the binding, a lot of people like to do them by hand, and go for it. I don't, I do it by machine. If you're doing it by machine, you're gonna start from the back and flip it over, and I will go over that in photos. And some people do 2 1/4. I'm doing 2 1/2. I don't recall what was in the directions, but I'll look and check on that. But either way, I like to do a 2 1/2 inch binding. So your project your way, and we're on the last step. One of the very last things is we need to get all of the blue marker off. So I'm just going to spritz it with water after I'm done with the binding. Well, guys, it's done. Yay. I love it. It came out great. I'm very, very happy with it. The CBT, it took a little getting used to, but as soon as you get the hang of it, they're really easy. I think the worst part actually was my fingers are sore from screwing in the hoops over and over again. That was it. This was a really fun project, really easy to do. Took a little bit of time, but not bad at all. And oh, so cute. And my girlfriend's quilt shop did such a great job making the fabric kit for us. I really like this. This is fun. So the last bit is to use a spray bottle and to get all the blue water or the blue markings out. And that was super easy. Like I barely even spritzed it and they came out right away. I had heard that some people had trouble, and so I'm really surprised. I mean, this was really easy. It came out of the white trees, one little spritz of water, no problem at all. So it's all bound, it's all done. The backing is all traditional quilting, and I love it. I really love it. I'm glad that I chose the Christmas trees for the blank blocks. I think that that's really cute, and I did a mixture of the navy and white and light gray thread for the quilting. And like I said, I did the 2x8 on the side, so mine is winter, and then the tops are the swirl border, so tops and bottom. So it's great. So here's the deal. I can't wait to see yours. So let me know when you've got yours done. Share a photo in our group. Let me know on YouTube how you like the tutorials. Always subscribe and comment to help out the channel. And I have something up my sleeve for next. So that'll be really fun. I'm really excited about it.